wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps pacing back and forth outside your bedroom door. You hear your name being whispered over and over again, getting closer and closer until the door handle turns and you lay face to face with the most terrifying figure you've ever seen. He's unnaturally tall. His skin is white as snow. His eyes are completely black and soulless, and he wears a black suit that seems to stretch on forever. He doesn't speak a word, but simply stands there staring at you until you pass out from fright. You wake up the next morning with no memory of what happened the night before, except for the feeling that something terrible is about to happen. This is just one of many stories where the main character encounters the Slender Man. For those who don't know, the Slender Man is one of the most famous icons of the digital horror world. And while he might not be the most original or well thought out horror character, he sure is popular. He first appeared in the Something Awful forums back in 2009 as part of the game Creepypasta. It's very similar to a game called Would You Rather, where users would post short stories to the forum hoping to scare the hell out of everyone else. But as time went on, more and more people began to build off each other as creepypastas, and thus the Slender Man was born. Eric Knudsen, also known as Victor Surge, is credited with creating the initial concept, but it was fellow Something Awful user and fellow creepypasta enthusiast Alex Kister who created the now iconic appearance of the Slender Man, specifically this picture here. Once posted, the image quickly became a meme among the Something Awful community and eventually the wider internet. But why did we find this so scary? Well, apart from his weird, long, bendy arms, which yes, are quite creepy, the Slender Man represents something far more frightening, the unknown. See, when the Slender Man first started appearing in creepypastas, he wasn't like the other monsters. He didn't have a backstory, a reason for killing people, or even any kind of motivation. There was nothing explaining where he came from or why he was doing what he was doing. All we knew was that he looked pretty creepy and he liked to mess with humans, often by abducting their children or driving them insane. This lack of backstory made him far more frightening than other internet horror characters because he reflected our own fears. The Slender Man was basically a blank slate. We could fill in the gaps with whatever we wanted. And depending on how active your imagination is, that can be pretty scary. Some people feared he had come from another dimension. Others believed he was a lost soul who fed on human emotion. But perhaps the scariest idea of all was that he was actually watching us, stalking us through the internet, always waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In fact, some people even claimed that the Slender Man was real and that he had already begun hunting people down in real life. And in 2014, the 12-year-old girls from Wisconsin named Morgan Geyser and Anissa Ware attempted to stab their friend Peyton Lawton 19 times to appease the fictional killer. Morgan even told police that the Slender Man had chosen Peyton as his vessel, which makes me wonder if maybe we should stop telling stories about fictional killers who prey on young girls. But that's just my opinion. What's yours? Anyways, the Slender Man remained relatively unknown outside of the internet until 2017, when a movie called Found Footage Style, the farce tried to bring the tall man to life. I say tried because despite its decent reviews and generally positive reception, the film did a poor job of translating the source material to the screen. The problem is that the Slender Man worked so well as an internet horror character because of his lack of backstory. Turning him into a real monster meant giving him motivations, goals, and backstory, none of which were necessary. It only served to make him less creepy. As far as found footage films go, it's pretty good, but as a Slender Man movie, it's terrible. Luckily, though, the film did well enough to spawn a sequel. So if you like the last movie, then congrats, you get another movie that's even worse. It's safe to say that the general consensus of the two movies is that they suck, but things hadn't always been this way. In the early days of the internet, the Slender Man was inescapable. Every website, every forum, every YouTube comment section had a story about him. I remember coming across the Slender Man when I was just a wee lad browsing the internet looking for anything that could possibly be scary. I read the first couple stories and thought, hey, this guy's pretty cool. Then I saw the pictures and videos that fans had created, and I was hooked. I spent hours upon hours scouring the internet for new stories about the tall man, saving pictures and videos, and making creepypastas of my own. The problem was that I didn't know how to write, and my stories were really stupid. And then one day he disappeared. It's weird how something that once seemed omnipresent can fade away so quickly. The thing about the Slender Man is that he never really went anywhere. You can still read new creepypastas about him on the wiki, but for whatever reason, around 2013 or 2014, the hype around the tall man began to die down. By 2016, it seemed like everyone had forgotten about him. But when the movie came out in 2018, interest in the character skyrocketed again. Since then, the trend has died down, but people still post about him from time to time. So why do we tell these stories? Why do we want to imagine a monster lurking in the shadows? I believe it all goes back to the old campfire ghost stories that humans have been telling since we first learned how to talk. We love being scared. There's something exciting about hearing a terrifying story with a happy ending. Sure, it might keep us up at night, but it's nice knowing that we're safe inside our beds, under our blankets. Or at least, that's what I used to tell myself when I was a kid. These stories serve as a kind of stress relief, allowing us to confront our deepest fears in a safe environment. They allow us to think about all the things that might go wrong without actually having to experience them. Of course, this doesn't explain why we specifically tell stories about the Slender Man. After all, he's not even that scary. To be honest, when I think about it now, he seems a little stupid. A faceless man in a suit stalking people and whispering their names. Yeah, that sounds more pathetic than frightening. His whole deal is that he's an unknown entity, yet he acts in the most predictable and cliché ways possible. And his motivations make no sense. Why does he pick off random people in random places? Does he have some kind of grand plan, or is he just bored? Maybe he's lonely and wants someone to talk to. Perhaps that's why he whispers people's names. He's trying to make conversation. But hey, if you're gonna talk to someone, at least make it relevant. Don't just stand outside their door in the middle of the night and whisper their name. That's not normal. It's weird, and it's definitely not okay. The Slender Man will never be the next Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees. He lacks the charm and charisma required to become a household name. But while he may not be a great horror villain, he's certainly a memorable one. The internet is full of legends, myths, and tales of mystery and horror. And the Slender Man is one of the first and most popular of them all. He taught us that sometimes the unknown is scarier than anything we could ever imagine. And for that, we will always tell his story. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. And as always, have a great day.